Would any of you advise a client to defy a federal court order?
No.
None of you would? How about you, Professor?
I mean, under most circumstances, we follow the government and private parties follow court orders. I suppose it's not, I would not rule out ever the possibility that in a sufficiently egregious order, there should be some consideration of whether there's a way.
So in some cases,
I think it's a qualified answer,
in
yes.
some cases you would.
In an extremely narrow band of cases, I think it would be considered, yes.
Okay. Do any of you think that nationwide or universal injunctions are not being abused?
I'm not sure what if I may, Senator, I'm not sure what the time horizon of the question is. I don't think that there could be good faith disagreements about the correctness of some of them, but I have not seen in the last 4 months abuse. No.
I've read your stuff and I've read your writings, and I don't want to get bogged down with this, but I have little respect for your opinion because I've read your stuff. When someone is in the White House that you agree with and someone gets a universal injunction against him, you don't like universal injunctions. You called them judges acting like they're politicians in robes and judges looking like crass political actors.
Ladies and gentlemen, patriots of America, welcome back to the Conservative Chronicle. If you're sick and tired of the legal elites playing politics on the bench, you want to sit down, buckle up, and grab a strong cup of black coffee for this one. Today, we're diving into one of the most disturbing Senate hearings I've seen in a long time. I'm talking about liberal law professors squirming under tough questioning from Senator John Kennedy, a true American patriot who's not afraid to call out hypocrisy when he sees it. Let me break it down for you. First off, let's talk about defying federal court orders. Now, the panel, which includes a bunch of ivory tower law professors, mostly agrees that no, you shouldn't defy a court order. Great. That's literally the bare minimum we expect from anyone in a courtroom.
But now that President Trump's in the White House, who you dislike, you think that universal injunctions taste like pumpkin pie. So I have to discount what you say because I think you act on your political beliefs. And I worry that that's what you're teaching your kids. So I'll leave you out of that. Do you think nationwide injunctions are being abused?
Certainly, Senator. I think that is.
They're being abused by both sides, aren't they?
Yes, Senator.
Both Republicans and Democrats are forum shopping, aren't they?
Certainly.
Professor, do you disagree with that?
I think both sides are abusing them. I agree.
Okay. Both sides.
Yeah.
There are no clean hands here. Now, your suggestion is that when a federal judge issues a nationwide injunction, there should be an automatic stay and an expedited right of appeal. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you disagree with that?
I haven't given enough thought to have a position on it, Senator.
I suspect, Professor, your answer will be it depends on who's president.
No, Senator.
Let me ask you about this. What if we had a rule? I was reading an article the other day. I'm not suggesting it. I just want your opinions. That said, if a president, any president, issues an executive order, let's say, that clearly violates settled Supreme Court precedent, that a federal judge can't issue a nationwide injunction. For example, if a federal president issued an order that said no one in America has right to counsel any longer, including but not limited to, in a felony case, having the government pay for your lawyer if you can't afford it. That clearly violates settled Gideon v. Wainwright. In that case, a judge has no authority or does have authority to issue a nationwide injunction. But in a case where the law is unclear, a judge should refrain from that. Now, obviously, we'd have to trust our judges, but we're supposed to be able to trust them anyway. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with that, Senator, because I think universal injunctions transgress the limitations under Article 3, even if the underlying merits are clear.
I happen to agree with you. I don't think there's any basis under Article 3, under Supreme Court precedent, under the English common law for nationwide injunctions. I think politicians have helped judges, and many judges are politicians, to just make it up. And many of them are like Professor Shaw here. If they like the president, they're against nationwide injunctions. If they don't like the president, they're for him. Professor, let me ask you this while I have you. On April 22nd, 2024, you said there are some members of the Supreme Court that are evil. Which justices were you talking about?
I'll take it your word, Senator. I don't recall using that word, but
All right, here's what you said. You were talking about the majority opinion in Muldrow v. City of St. Louis. You said, quote, Justice Kagan, will she be able to control the opinion's future distortion by her evil colleagues? Probably not, end quote. Who were you talking about?
sir, I'm very skeptical. If there's a transcription, it was probably a transcription error. I do not think I said.
No, you said it. Why don't you own up to it? Which you call some of the members of the Supreme Court evil. Now, which ones do you think are evil?
I would have to refresh my recollection. I've been very critical
You're
of some
embarrassed
members of the
that
Supreme
you made
Court.
that statement, aren't you?
I'm
You're an
telling you,
officer
Senator, it
of the
doesn't sound
court.
like something that
You know
I
what
would
I'm
say.
embarrassed at? That you're teaching our kids.
I don't refer to Supreme Court justices as evil in
Did,
the
right here,
in the classroom,
on
sir.
your podcast, April 22nd, 2024.
Okay, well,
Big as Dallas. And you're an officer of the court, and you're here advising us to be respectful to federal judges, and you say they're evil members of the United States Supreme Court? Gag me with a spoon. You're part of what's the problem in all of this.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Durbin.
So I'm going to give the panel members an opportunity to.
But one professor, let's call him Professor Waffler, actually leaves the door open. He says in sufficiently egregious cases, it might be okay to defy a court order. Hold up, you're telling me a legal scholar who trains the next generation of lawyers thinks there's any situation where a private citizen or even the government can pick and choose which court orders to follow. That's not law. That's anarchy. And it's dangerous. Now let's get to the meat of the issue, nationwide injunctions. You know what those are? That's when one single district judge sometimes in a tiny courtroom in San Francisco or Seattle decides that their opinion should shut down a policy for the entire nation. One judge, one robe, more power than 330 million Americans' votes. And these professors, they admit it. They admit both Democrats and Republicans are abusing the system. They admit there's forum shopping. That's when they cherry pick a court and a judge who they know will rule the way they want. Even a liberal professor, the one Senator Kennedy grilled, couldn't deny it. What does that tell you? It tells you our justice system is being weaponized by partisan ideologues wearing the mask of neutrality. You think that universal injunctions taste like pumpkin pie when you don't like the president. Boom. Mic drop. Senator Kennedy hits the nail on the head. These people want to play both sides when their guy is in office. Nationwide injunctions are tyranny when our guy is in office. Suddenly, it's a brave act of legal resistance. Enough with the hypocrisy. Then there's a proposal when a judge issues a nationwide injunction. There should be an automatic stay and an expedited appeal. Now that is a common sense reform. Why? Because it stops one rogue judge from halting a president's policy for months or even years based on partisan nonsense. You want to challenge a law? Fine, but do it within the bounds of the Constitution. Don't weaponize the judiciary. But guess what? One of the professors basically says, I haven't thought about it. Excuse me. You're testifying in front of Congress about this, and you haven't thought about it? These are the people teaching law at top schools. No wonder our courts are in chaos. And here's the cherry on top of this liberal law school Sunday. This same professor who's supposed to teach respect for the rule of law goes on record calling some Supreme Court justices evil. Evil. Let that sink in. A law professor, an officer of the court, talking about the highest court in the land like it's a horror movie. And then he lies about it. Tries to say, Maybe it was a transcription error. Oh, really? Then Senator Kennedy reads him the quote, word for word. And finally, the guy kind of admits it, but not really. Cowardly. This guy's teaching your kids. He's shaping how future lawyers and judges think about our Constitution. Let me say this plain and simple. That man has no business teaching law. This is what happens when our institutions, our courts, our schools, our universities become playgrounds for political activists in robes and tenure-track positions. They don't love the law. They don't love the Constitution. They love power. And when they can't get what they want through elections, they run to friendly judges to block the will of the people. So what can we do? 1. Support judicial reforms like automatic stays on nationwide injunctions. 2. Elect senators who will confirm originalist judges who interpret the law and not make it up. 3. Hold law schools accountable for the people they're producing. 4. And most importantly, never stop speaking out. Because if we don't fight for the rule of law, the left will keep bending it, breaking it, until it's unrecognizable. This is the Red Line Report. If you believe in the Constitution and our courts and in calling out hypocrisy, no matter where it hides, like, share and subscribe. We're not backing down. Not today. Not ever. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.